I used to think I was good at compartments, the way some people are good at parallel parking or remembering birthdays. I could be Rian at brunch, easy smile, sleeves rolled up, Callie's hand warm in mine while she stole the last bite off my plate and swore she wasn't that hungry. I could be Rian at work, steady voice, calendar color-coded, the guy who refilled the coffee before the pot went empty. And then, in the thin hours when the city quieted and my phone felt heavier in my palm, I could be Rian. Lip gloss catching the bathroom light, a wig cap tugging at my hairline, my heart thudding with that old, aching mix of relief and dread. For a long time, I told myself it wasn't lying. I told myself it was privacy. I told myself it was harmless because I wasn't taking anything away from anyone. But secrets don't stay the size you intend. They grow, they demand maintenance. They become a second schedule, a second pulse, a second weather system in your chest. Callie and I met at a rooftop bar, the kind with string lights that make everyone look kinder than they feel. She had a laugh that startled people into smiling, like she was reminding the whole room it didn't have to be so hard to be alive. We talked for 2 hours about nothing and everything, best movie soundtracks, which brunch spots were overrated, whether people who said I don't have a type were lying. She tilted her head at one point, eyes bright, and said, "You're fun. Are you always this fun?" I wanted to be. I wanted to be the kind of man who didn't flinch at intimacy, who didn't carry a private museum of shame. "Only on Tuesdays," I said. "It's Thursday." "Then you're in luck." When she laughed, something in me loosened like a knot finally giving up. Dating Callie felt like being handed a clean page. She didn't know the jagged parts of me. She didn't know that my pulse spiked when I passed lingerie displays in department stores, or that the word pretty could land on my skin like both a blessing and a bruise. She knew the version of me that was safest to love, and I let her because I was starving for it. At first, keeping Rian private was easy. A Thursday night when Callie was out with friends, a weekend when she visited her sister, a new order delivered to a pickup locker instead of my doorstep. I was careful, I was methodical, I was terrified. The first time Callie stayed over, she fell asleep with her cheek on my shoulder, breathing slow and steady. I stared at the ceiling and thought about the shoebox in my closet. Inside were tights, folded with too much precision, a soft bodysuit, a wig I'd promised myself I'd replace with something better, and lipstick worn down to a blunt edge. The shoebox felt louder than it should have, like it could burst through cardboard and announce itself. Callie shifted, murmuring my name like it belonged to her. My chest tightened with tenderness, and something darker, a familiar fear that tenderness had conditions, that love required being simple. I learned that fear early. The first time I dressed up, I was 8. My mom had left laundry in a basket in the hallway. I remember the texture of a blouse, cool satin, sleeves too long, her perfume still clinging to it. Something in me reached for that softness like it was oxygen. I wrapped it around myself and stood in front of the mirror with quiet awe. My face looked the same, but my body felt different, like I'd finally found the frequency it wanted to live on. My dad came home early. I heard the front door, the heavy steps, the way the air changed when he entered. I barely had time to pull the blouse off before he saw enough to understand. He didn't hit me. He didn't have to. His disappointment was a weapon. He grabbed my wrist and dragged me into the kitchen like he was hauling shame by the arm. My mom's face went paper white, eyes flicking between us like she wanted to disappear. "Do you want to be a girl?" my dad asked, each word clipped. I didn't know how to answer a question that wasn't really a question. I didn't know how to explain it wasn't about wanting to be someone else. It was about wanting to feel like myself. He took the blouse and threw it in the trash as if it were contaminated. Then he made me take the bag outside, made me watch him spray bleach into the bin, made me promise I'd never do it again. The punishment wasn't the bleach. It was the lesson. My longing was dangerous. My softness could cost me love. So I became good at hiding. By college, hiding was easier because everyone was hiding something: drinking problems, depression, fake confidence. But it also got riskier because hiding is lonely, and loneliness makes you reckless. I chose the name Rian because it looked like Rian if you didn't stare too long, like I could slide between them without anyone noticing, like I could tell myself it wasn't a different life, just a different angle of the same one. The first time I went out as Rian, I was 22. I stood in a cramped bathroom with my hands shaking as I tried to make eyeliner behave. I walked into a dim bar, convinced everyone could see straight through me, but then a woman leaned over and said, "Girl, your hair is gorgeous." And that one word, girl, hit me like a bell. My eyes burned with sudden tears I refused to let fall. That night, a man bought me a drink and called me beautiful without asking for my history. He didn't demand a definition. He just looked at me like I was allowed to exist. I told myself it was a fantasy, a harmless release valve. Then I started chasing it. By the time I met Callie, I'd convinced myself I could manage it. Rian could be boyfriend material. Rian could be private. Something I did when I needed to breathe. A place where my body felt like mine. But Rian didn't exist in a vacuum. Rian came with attention, with messages, with invitations. And I made the worst decision you can make when you're afraid. I decided I deserved 2 lives. At first it was flirting on an app, then drinks, then meeting men in the version of me that felt softer, freer, safer. I'll spare the details because the point isn't the mechanics. It's the betrayal. The point is that I crossed lines I had no right to cross. Afterward, I'd come home and shower until my skin turned pink, as if guilt could be washed off. But it lodged under my ribs and stayed there, hot and heavy. Callie would text the next morning, "Good luck today, proud of you." I'd stare at the message like it was a mirror held to my worst self and type back, "Thanks, babe. Miss you." I don't know what I thought would happen, that the lies would evaporate, that love would make me normal, that I could keep the secret small enough it wouldn't hurt anyone. Instead, love made me more afraid of losing it, which made me cling harder to the thing I thought I couldn't survive without. The day everything cracked open was painfully ordinary. Callie was on my couch, wearing one of my hoodies like it belonged to her, making a grocery list on my notepad. Her hair was piled messily, and she looked like the future I'd been pretending I deserved. "We need eggs," she said, "and coffee, and that pasta you like." I stood in the doorway watching her and felt the sweetness of it. This is what people mean when they say home. Then my phone buzzed on the counter. The notification popped up before I could stop it, and the name flashed like a flare tied to Rian. Callie's eyes flicked up. "Your phone," she said. I reached for it too fast, movements sharp. "Everything okay?" she asked, still casual, but the room had changed. She could feel it. "Yeah," I said, forcing a laugh. "Just spam." Callie didn't smile. She watched me the way she watched traffic when she was waiting to cross, alert, calculating. "Rian," she said slowly, "you're acting weird." "I'm not," I said too quickly. She set the notepad down. "Okay," she said carefully. "Then show me." My stomach dropped. "If it's spam, it's spam," she continued. "Show me." I could have refused. I could have tried to turn it into a fight about privacy. But I was tired. Tired of the double life. Tired of the constant vigilance. And if I'm honest, part of me wanted it to end. My hand shook as I unlocked the screen. I held it out like a surrender. Callie took the phone and read. I watched her face change in slow motion. Confusion, recognition, shock, then anger hardening into something wounded. "What is this?" she asked, voice sharp. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. "Rian," she said again, louder now. "Who is Rian?" The name hung between us, exposed. "It's me," I whispered, her eyebrows pulled together. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, forcing words through panic. Sometimes I dress. Rian is a name I use." Callie looked back at the screen. "And these messages?" My chest tightened. You've been meeting men," she said, and her voice rose on the last word like it couldn't believe itself. I nodded because lying further felt impossible. Callie's face flushed, red climbing her neck. "So you've been cheating on me." The word hit like a slap because it was true. No framing could soften it. "I'm sorry," I said, and I hated how small my voice sounded. "I'm so sorry." "How long?" she demanded. "Since before we met," I admitted, and watched her flinch like I'd thrown something. But the meetups after we started dating, it didn't happen at first. Then it did. Her eyes shone with angry tears. So all this time, I'm here thinking we're building something, and you're out living some secret life. It wasn't about you, I blurted, then regretted it instantly because it sounded like an excuse. It is about me, she snapped, because I'm your girlfriend, because I've been trusting you. Each word landed like weight. I sank onto the couch, suddenly dizzy. I know, I whispered. I know. Callie held the phone like she wanted to throw it. Were you ever going to tell me? She asked, quieter now, more hurt than angry. I wanted to, I said, but I was scared. Of what? That I'd judge you for cross-dressing? Yes, I said, the word tearing out of me. That you'd see me differently, that you'd leave. Callie let out a laugh that was almost a sob. Rian, I'm leaving right now because you cheated. I flinched. She was right. I'd built a story where the biggest risk was her judging the clothes, not her discovering the betrayal underneath. I know, I whispered. I know. Callie's shoulders shook. She wiped her face hard, angry at the tears. Why? She asked, voice breaking. Why did you do it? That question opened a trap door in me. Suddenly I was 8 in a kitchen, my dad's shadow looming. Suddenly I was 22, trembling in a bar bathroom, chasing the feeling of being allowed. I've done it my whole life, I said, and my voice sounded far away even to me. Not the cheating, the dressing, the wanting, the Rian part. Callie's eyes narrowed. Start from the beginning. So I did. I told her about the blouse, the trash bag, the bleach. I told her about learning to treat my own desire like contraband. I told her how dressing didn't feel like pretending. It felt like exhaling, like turning down static in my head. Callie listened, but her face stayed tight. Pain doesn't soften just because it's explained. And the men? She asked when I finished. Is that part of it too? My throat went dry. I'm bisexual, I admitted. I've known for a long time. Dressing as Rian made it feel easier to explore, like I had permission. Callie stared at me, then looked away, jaw clenched. So you want men, she said flatly. I want you, I said quickly. I love you. This isn't about replacing you. But you still cheated, she said, voice cracking again. I did, I said, and I hate myself for it. Silence stretched. The hum of the refrigerator sounded absurdly loud. Callie turned toward the window, arms wrapped around herself. I don't even know who you are, she whispered. That's not true, I said, voice shaking. You know me. You know how I take my coffee. You know the songs I sing in the shower. You know how I get quiet when I'm stressed. But there's a part of me I never gave you. I swallowed. That's not fair. Callie turned back slowly. Her eyes were red-rimmed. You didn't give it to me, she said, and you gave it to strangers. The shame hit so hard I had to look down. I know, I whispered. I was chasing something I didn't know how to ask you for. She sat on the far end of the couch, like distance could protect her. What are you asking for now? She asked, guarded. The room felt like it was holding its breath. I'm asking for a chance to be honest, I said. I'm asking to stop splitting myself in half. I want you to know all of me. My voice cracked. I want you to be a part of it. Callie's expression twisted. Confusion, disbelief, anger. You want me to help you dress up? If you wanted, I said quickly. Only if you wanted. I don't want to pressure you. I exhaled shakily. I don't want to hide anymore, and I don't want to hurt you. Callie stared at the floor for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was stripped bare. I'm so angry at you, she said, and I'm also sad, because I can hear how long you've been carrying this. I felt tears prick my eyes. I never wanted to make you collateral damage, I whispered. I need time, she said. I need space to decide if I can trust you again. I'll do whatever you need, I said. Therapy, transparency, no apps, Nothing. I'll prove it. Callie held up a hand. Stop, she said. Don't bargain. Just listen. So I listened as she told me what the betrayal felt like being made a fool of, like her reality had been edited without her consent. It hurt, and I let it, because pain was the price of truth. When she finally stood to leave, I felt my body panic, old fear roaring. I reached out, then stopped myself. She wasn't something I could grab to keep. Callie paused at the door and looked back. I can't promise anything, she said, but I'm not done, not yet. After she left, I sat on the floor in the silence and shook. I thought about the boy in the kitchen and the man I'd become and the wreckage between them. I thought about Rian like she was a ghost I'd conjured to protect myself, only to watch her haunt the person I loved. The next week was the longest of my life. Callie barely texted. When she did, it was practical. Each message felt like a thin thread I didn't deserve. I did what I should have done months ago. I deleted the apps. I made an appointment with a therapist who specialized in sexuality and identity. I wrote Callie a letter, pages of it, without excuses. I owned what I'd done. I told her I understood if she walked away. I told her I was sorry in a way that didn't ask her to comfort me. When Callie agreed to meet, it was at a quiet cafe with big windows and soft music. She looked tired. I looked worse. I read your letter, she said, calm but controlled. I appreciate that you didn't try to blame me. I don't blame you, I said. I blame me. Are you still seeing anyone? She asked bluntly. No, I said immediately. I haven't since you found out. I won't, not unless we decide together, and only if it's ethical and consensual. My throat tightened. I know I don't get to ask for trust. I have to earn it. Callie nodded slowly. Okay. Then, after a beat, tell me about Rian. My breath caught. You want to know? I want to understand, she said. And I want to know if you've been lying to yourself too. I tried to be honest. Rian isn't a lie, I said. But the way I used her was, I used secrecy like a drug. Callie watched me carefully. Do you want to be a woman? She asked. No, I said, relief in the clarity. I don't feel like I'm in the wrong body. I feel like masculinity is a costume I've been told I can't take off. Rian is where I can breathe, where I can be soft without being punished. Callie's face tightened at the word punished. I hate that someone did that to you, she said quietly. Me too, I whispered. What would it look like, she asked, if I was a part of it? Slow, I said. Only what you want. Maybe you see me dressed at home. Maybe we talk. Maybe we rebuild trust before anything else. And the men? She asked. Is that something you need? I took a breath. I don't need strangers, I said. I need honesty. I need to stop feeling like a monster. I need to stop using people as validation. I swallowed. I'm bisexual. That's true. But what I want most is you. If there's ever anything involving other people, it has to be something we choose together. No secrets. Callie was quiet for a long moment. I can't believe I'm even considering this, she murmured. Don't do it for me, I said. Do it only if it feels right for you. Callie looked at me with a sharpness that reminded me why I loved her. Stop acting like you're doomed, she said. You did something wrong. That doesn't mean you're beyond repair. It means you have to do better. I nodded. I will. The first time Callie saw Rian, it wasn't dramatic. It was a quiet Friday night. I'd cleaned obsessively, like tidying could control my anxiety. My hands shook so badly I had to sit and breathe through it. Callie stood in the doorway, arms crossed, guarded but present. Okay, she said. Show me. I went to the bathroom out of habit, locked the door, then realized I didn't have to. I unlocked it again, my breath ragged. I moved slowly, deliberately, like I was handling something fragile. When I stepped out in a simple black dress and a soft wig that framed my face, I couldn't look at her at first. I stared at my hands, nails painted a deep glossy color, and waited for laughter, for disgust, for the old punishment. Callie was quiet. Then she exhaled. "Wow," she said softly. I glanced up, bracing. "You look really pretty," she said. The word pretty hit me like it had years ago, except this time it came from the person I loved. My eyes blurred immediately. "Don't cry," Callie warned, voice thick, "or I'll cry." I laughed shakily. "Sorry." She stepped closer like she was approaching something skittish. "Can I touch your hair?" she asked. "Yes," I whispered. Her fingers brushed the wig gently, then her palm cupped my cheek. Warm, steady. "I'm still mad at you," she said, and her eyes shone. "But I get it more than I expected." "Thank you," I whispered, "for trying." "Don't make me regret it," she said. "I won't," I promised. Rebuilding trust wasn't one big moment. It was 100 small choices. I handed her my phone without being asked. I went to therapy and came home with language for old wounds. Callie told me when she felt triggered, and I listened without defensiveness. I told her when I felt the urge to disappear into secrecy, and she didn't punish me for the urge. She helped me sit with it until it passed. At some point, Rian stopped being a hidden room and became a window I opened. Callie surprised me. She helped me choose a better wig. She taught me how to blend foundation so it looked like skin instead of a mask. One night, she held up 2 lip colors and said, "This one makes you look confident. This one makes you look like you're about to confess something." Her smile was gentle, not mocking. "Which mood are we going for?" "Confident," I said, and she grinned like she'd won. We talked about my attraction to men, about her fears, about jealousy, about what was and wasn't on the table. I didn't rush her into being cool. I didn't want permission to repeat my mistakes. I wanted a structure built on consent and clarity, not secrecy. Months later, Callie was the one who brought up the idea of meeting someone together, carefully, ethically, with boundaries stated in advance. It stunned me. "I'm not saying yes," she said quickly, reading my face. "I'm saying I want to talk about it like adults." "Why?" I asked, voice raw. She hesitated, then said, "Because part of what hurt was feeling left out of something important, like you had an entire emotional world I wasn't invited into." She swallowed. "If we're going to do this, if we're staying, I don't want you splitting yourself again, and I don't want secrets. So if you want to explore that part of you, I'd rather be involved than blindsided." My throat tightened. "You don't have to," I whispered. "I know," she said. "I'm choosing." When we met one of Ryan's past connections, someone I'd spoken to before, someone I'd been honest with about what I was trying to do now, we chose a public place. Bright lights, clear exits, no alcohol, no ambiguity. His name was Marco. Early 30s, calm eyes, respectful posture. He greeted Callie first, like he understood exactly where the vulnerability sat. "Thank you for meeting me," he said to her. "I know this is delicate." Callie nodded, shoulders straight. "I appreciate you being respectful," she said. Then she looked at me, at Rian, because that day we'd decided I'd dress, not as a performance, but as honesty. "You okay?" she asked quietly. I nodded, heart hammering. "I'm okay." We talked like humans, not fantasies. We spoke about consent, boundaries, and the fact that trust was the point, not novelty. Callie asked questions that made me love her because they were clear and rooted in self-respect. Marco answered without flinching. It wasn't sexy. It was intimate in a different way. The intimacy of adults refusing to lie. When we left, Callie exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. "Well," she said, "that was weirdly normal." I laughed, shaky with relief. "Yeah," I said, "it was." I won't pretend the next steps were instant or smooth. Callie changed her mind more than once, and each time I told her she was allowed. Nothing mattered more than her choice. The moment we crossed into anything physical as a group wasn't about heat. It was about trust, about everyone being sober, everyone having the ability to stop with a word, everyone checking in, everyone leaving with dignity intact. It was careful, and it was kind, and it was nothing like the secretive, hollow nights I used to chase. What surprised me most was how it didn't pull Callie and me apart. It clarified us. It made me see that so much of what I'd been chasing wasn't about bodies. It was about being seen without punishment. Afterward, Callie lay beside me, fingers tracing slow circles on my wrist, the room quiet in a way that felt earned. "I still hate what you did," she said softly. "I know," I whispered. "But," she added, and her voice gentled, "I'm proud of what we're doing now." My chest tightened. "Me too," I said. She turned her head and looked at me. "Do you feel less split?" she asked. I thought about the boy with the blouse, the man with the secrets, the name that had become both sanctuary and weapon. I thought about Callie asking permission before touching my hair. I thought about how honesty felt like stepping into sunlight after years of living in a closet. "Yes," I said, relief in the word. "I feel whole." Callie's eyes softened. "Good," she said, "because I don't want to love half of you." I laughed, watery and real. "You never did," I admitted. "I just didn't know how to give you the rest." We're not a perfect success story where everything becomes easy. There are still days Callie gets quiet when memory bites. There are still nights my shame rises like an old reflex and whispers that I don't deserve love when I'm fully seen. But now I don't obey that voice. I don't disappear into secrecy. I tell Callie I'm spiraling, and she takes my hand and says, "Come back." Sometimes I dress as Rian, and Callie helps me choose earrings, the two of us laughing at our reflection like it's the most normal thing in the world. Sometimes I don't dress at all, and it doesn't feel like failure, just another day. Sometimes we talk about my attraction to men the way couples talk about anything tender and complicated, with honesty, with limits, with respect. Callie once asked me, months after the worst night of our lives, "If you could do it over, would you still be Rian?" I didn't answer right away. I wanted truth, not fear. "Yes," I said finally, "but I would have brought you with me from the beginning." Callie's mouth trembled, the way it does when she's trying not to cry. "Good," she said, "because if we're doing this, we're doing it together." And for the first time in my life, the part of me that loved softness, the part that wanted men as well as women, the part that had been punished into silence, none of it felt like a threat. It felt like a landscape I could walk through without getting lost, because I wasn't alone anymore. I can't rewrite my past. I can't unbleach the trash bin in my memory or unhear my father's disgust. But I can choose how the story goes now. I can refuse to use secrecy as shelter when it turns other people into collateral damage. I can let love be big enough to hold the complicated truth as long as I meet it with honesty instead of hiding. If I've learned anything, it's this. Being seen isn't what destroys you. The way you protect yourself can. The lying, the disappearing, the justification you build to avoid the simplest, bravest sentence. This is who I am. And if you're lucky, and if you do the work, you get to hear someone you love say back, "Stay. I'm here. Let me know you."